Making Claude talk like a caveman might not only save you tokens, but it may also increase performance as well. What I'm talking about is the caveman skill, which you can see on the page now. It's the #1 trending GitHub repository of the day, and it's been blowing up all over the place, sitting at 98,000 stars on GitHub, which is absolutely insane. Now, the whole point of Caveman is to reduce the fluff in your output or within your input to save you tokens. So just like here on their page, their main tagline, why use many token when few do trick? Super simple, and they've got some pretty crazy numbers on their GitHub, but we're going to go into it today. We're going to test it out, see exactly what numbers we can get, see how many tokens we can save with the caveman skill. But you can see on their GitHub straight away they're putting up numbers. So on the left you've got a normal agent, the output is 69 tokens. On the right you've got a caveman agent, the output is 19 tokens. You can see the message here is more text, and the message with the caveman agent is less text, and it's just the answer that you need. You can also see here they've got some baseline tasks that they've asked Claude. So explain React Render bug. Normal Claude, 1,180 tokens. With Caveman, 159, 87% tokens saved in the output, which is absolutely insane. Here you can see under the baselines it says Caveman only shrinks output tokens. Input and reasoning tokens are untouched. And the skill itself adds 1 to 1.5k input tokens per turn. So whole session savings run smaller than the output number, and on already terse workloads they can go net negative. The real win is readability and speed. Cost savings are a bonus. So basically what it's saying is when you get a response from Claude, it's gonna give you a bunch, say like a paragraph, like you saw in the example up here. Caveman is reducing that fluff essentially and just giving you the output that you need. So they've actually included on their GitHub an honest numbers section, which I really like, and we can come in here and we can see when Caveman wins and when to use Caveman and when Caveman loses. So when Caveman wins, long chatting outputs, explanations, architecture discussions, code review docs, and debugging walkthroughs, long sessions with verbose agents, and reading speed. Now, when Caveman loses, they say a bunch of stuff here. They also include that the skill costs 1 to 1.5k input tokens every turn, which we mentioned earlier. So Caveman loses with terse code and Q&A, agent that bills by request or credit, not tokens, session level totals, some tool side counters go the wrong way. I definitely encourage you to come on to their GitHub. I'll leave a link to it in the description. You can read through all of this yourself. And then it also tells you how to measure Caveman yourself to see if it's running correctly and see if you're actually saving tokens and it's worth you using. So really cool. I'll leave the link to this in the description of this video so you can check it out yourself. Now what I mean by the whole token input and output is if we come to Claude and we run /context, we can see our context usage and all of the input tokens getting used whenever we speak to Claude. So a system prompt uses 4.2k input tokens, system tools, custom agents, memory files, skills, messages, etc. Now, a better diagram to show you is this here. Now, this is an example of exactly where Caveman is saving you tokens. So if you can imagine like a chat with Claude or a message with Claude that's going to take 100,000 tokens. Say this whole bar input and output is 100,000 tokens. 75% of that, so 75,000 tokens are in a system prompt, tools, and MCP servers, memory files, file reads and tool outputs, conversation, and then the 25% is in the code and tool calls, and then the pause replies. Now, Caveman is only saving you that percentage, or their percentage that they claim, in the reply section, which I think still has a lot of potential, especially if you're using up all of your tokens on a weekly basis, hitting your limits. This is going to save you tokens, definitely. Now, another interesting thing that Caveman have as well is claiming to save tokens on the input side. So if we see here, they have Caveman to proxy, which is the half that saves you on the input tokens. Now, it does this by compressing the Claude MD files and the input and all of those sections we saw in that /context command I ran inside of Claude, compressing that down and giving Claude exactly what it needs instead of just, again, a bunch of fluff. So where Caveman 2, being the input section of the Caveman skill, helps is in this section here. You can see it in this diagram. So the free skill, being the other side of Caveman that we just spoke about, saves the tokens in this small section here. So you're saving 60 to 80% of your tokens in the response only with that, whereas Caveman 2 is going to compress everything inside of the input section: tools and MCP servers, file reads and tool outputs, conversation, memory file system prompts, into exactly what Claude needs. And they claim, based on many tests, that it saves up to 33.2% of input tokens. We're going to test it out now and see if these numbers are true. So let's jump straight into it. Okay, so all I've done is I've opened up my Claude Code and I've cloned the browser use GitHub repository inside of this project folder. And we're going to test out using Caveman and using Caveman 2. I haven't installed Caveman inside of this folder just yet. All we're going to do is just ask Claude this question here, copy and paste that into there. And as you can see here, we've got our context loaded. And we're just going to fire off that question and we're going to see how much tokens we output using or without using Caveman. So Claude has finished up what we have asked it to do. We just asked it to explain how the agent loop works end to end within the browser use GitHub repo. So you can see the answer here. It's gone into a lot of detail, a bunch of fluff probably in here. So we'll see what Caveman does in a second. But then I ran the /context and you can see that we've used 162,000 tokens in this message response. So a bunch of tokens here used. Again, this does include all of the input tokens from our system prompt, system tools, custom agents, memory files, skills, etc. But a pretty big reply here from Claude. Now let's get Caveman installed. There are a bunch of ways to actually install Caveman. The easiest way to avoid all of this fluff that they have here and go through all these individual commands is just copy and paste the GitHub URL straight into your Claude Code chat and ask Claude to install it for you. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So all I've done, I've just copy and pasted the GitHub link straight into Claude Code, and it's popped up and said, what part of Caveman do you want to install? Caveman 2 being the proxy, which we'll do after, or the skill only. For this example, I'll just test the skill only, which is focusing on the output. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed now. Now I have the Caveman skill installed and I've restarted Claude Code. I'm just going to move myself over here for a sec. All I'm going to do is type in /Caveman full, and then you can see Caveman full is active. Then I'm just going to use exactly the same prompt that I did a second ago. Okay, so we have our answer back. We have still a long reply, but slightly shorter than the last one. Just pulling out all of the information that we specifically need instead of the fluff. And then I've also run /context at the end of it. And you can see here that we have the messages sitting at 131,000 tokens, and the total tokens of this chat currently are 156,700. So on the left side, we have the total amount of tokens using Caveman, the skill, just handling the output tokens. And on the right side, I have a screenshot of our previous text without Caveman. So you can see there's about 30,000 tokens saved. As you can see exactly here, messages being the output, 162,000 tokens without, and then with Caveman, 131,000 tokens. So definitely a difference here, and a positive one when using Caveman. Now let's jump into using the proxy and Caveman 2. Okay, so all I've done is I've just repeated the process that we did earlier when installing the skill for Caveman 2, but I've just selected to install the Caveman 2 proxy. Now what we're going to do is we are going to run this command, and then we are going to ask Claude exactly the same question we've been using every single time. Okay, so I've gone ahead and run that prompt, and then I've run this command here, which is pulling up all of our sessions that we've used. And then this one here at 228 is the one without Caveman, and then this one here that we've just run is the one with the proxy. And you can see that it saved about 120,000 input tokens and then 13,000 output tokens. So yeah, do with that as you will. Definitely worth testing out Caveman. Final verdict, I would definitely recommend testing out Caveman for yourself, running that Caveman stats command after and seeing if it's something that is worth it for you. I mean, the whole point of Caveman is to save you money, reduce fluff, and make it easy for you to read your responses from Claude instead of just going through a massive paragraph and trying to pull out all of the information from a messy response. But yeah, go ahead, test out Caveman. I'll leave everything in the description. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much for viewing this video. I'll see you all very soon.